Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. As Alejandro mentioned, tonight I'm going to be giving a speech on how to give an effective evaluation. Now this is something that Toastmasters International provides information on. Some of you may remember that the last speech I gave about 4 or 5 weeks ago was from one of the educational series manuals, which was called the Better Speaker Series. Tonight I'm doing a speech from one of the other educational series manuals. It's called the Successful Club Series. Now I handed out a couple of things with the agenda. So one of those 3 handouts is a picture. It's a copy of this Successful Club Series manual, and it's the particular project that I'm doing tonight, which is this Evaluate to Motivate. Now this particular manual has 11 projects. All of them are devoted to different aspects of helping clubs improve their ability to be successful clubs. Now, those of you who have been members for a while, all of you see this great club banner of ours and all of these ribbons. Well, most of those ribbons have been granted to the club from our district or from Toastmasters International based upon us successfully adhering to the goals of Toastmasters. The most common metric being the Successful Club Program. And many of those ribbons are for our past successes in reaching those goals. So some might think, well, since we're in Western area Toastmasters, and we're an extremely successful club, what are we really going to gain from looking at this manual from TI called the Successful Club Series? Well, of those 11 projects, one of which we'll talk about tonight on how to craft a more effective evaluation, some other things that they talk about. How do you gauge the effectiveness of a club? How do you close the sale and bringing in new members? How do you keep the commitment going of your members to keep the club progressing? How to be a distinguished club? Or various elements of the Toastmasters International Education Program. So although this club has been extremely successful, there's still much more we can always learn. You know, the lifeblood of our club is new members. And we know we have 50, 55 active members right now, many new members. We just had an excellent icebreaker tonight. So how do we keep this club striving and succeeding? Well, we can learn things from Toastmasters. So think of this Successful Club Series manual as a group of projects which represent leading practices provided by Toastmasters on how to make a club successful. So tonight I want to talk about how do we craft an effective evaluation. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to give this project was throughout the year we've done a great job in the speeches that are being prepared and in the evaluations that we give, but I think we can do as a club, I think we can do a little bit better of a job in providing effective evaluations. Now if you think about our agenda, there are 3 basic points of a meeting. There's the prepared speeches, which come from our manual. There's the evaluation. And there's table topics, the impromptu speaking. Now the evaluation in and of itself is a mini speech. It's a 2 to 3 minute speech that the evaluator is giving primarily to the speaker that they're evaluating, but also to every other club member who's here. One of the great things about the evaluation piece of the meeting is that it gives the speaker immediate feedback on the speech they just gave. And it gives all of us as audience members that feedback as well. Because we are all listening to a speech. Right now, hopefully every one of you are listening to the speech that I'm giving. Shira is my evaluator tonight. So Shira will be giving a formal evaluation based upon the criteria of this particular speech. But each of you are forming an opinion yourself on the effectiveness of me being able to convey this information about the evaluation. So when we hear Shira's evaluation tonight, she'll be recanting her impressions of the speech based upon the goals that may or may not agree to your impressions. So that's another way in which we all learn here at Toastmasters. So again, that evaluation piece is about 1/3 of the meeting. So it's a pretty effective, pretty important part of the overall meeting. Now one final bit of information about this educational series of manuals. 3 manuals. One is called the Successful Club Series. One is called the Better Speaker Series. And the third is called Effective Leadership. Each of them give, like regular speech manuals, they give the goals of each project. But here's the kicker. We also give you the content. So tonight, the information that I'm going to impart to you is predicated upon the leading practices and information that Toastmasters makes available. I'll try to tailor it a little bit to my own speaking style and to my own impression. But the basic content is provided to us for free. Now I say for free because these 3 manuals, you can either purchase the hard copy from the TI website, or you can download from the TI website this content as a PDF file. So if you're frugal like me, I downloaded these three manuals when I did my last speech, so now I have all this content that's available for speeches. One other thing to consider, when you give a speech from one of these 3 educational series manuals, since it's not your content, then as credit for speeches, you don't get credit in your company communications manual or any of the 15 advanced communication manuals. But they're excellent speeches to give to the club because it's all very good and useful information. And as was mentioned in the introduction, for the requirements for the Advanced Communicator Silver. So that's someone who's gotten their CC, 10 speeches, gotten their Advanced Communicator Bronze, which was another 10 speeches. So to get to the Advanced Communicator Silver, another 10 speeches that come from 2 of the 15 manuals up to the Toastmaster's Choice. Each advanced speech manual has 5 speeches. So you complete 2, you got 10. But you also have to do 2 speeches from the educational series manuals. So effectively, to get your ACS, you have to do 12 speeches. 10 from the advanced normal manuals, and then 2 from these educational series manuals. And you can mix them up. Like I did one from the Better Speaker series. I'm doing one tonight from the Successful Club series. I could have just as well done one from the Leadership series, or I could have done 2 from the Successful Club series. It's purely up to the Toastmaster. But it's great content that we get that we can share with them. So, what does Toastmasters have to say about how do you craft an effective evaluation? Well, a couple of things. One, they say the basic purpose of an evaluation is threefold. One, it's to provide the speaker and members with immediate feedback. Like I said earlier, during the meeting, you get a speech. During the same meeting, you hear that evaluation. Now, the evaluation, or the evaluator, is going to provide to the speaker some recommendations. They're going to mention what they thought the speaker did well. They're also going to mention some things that they think the speaker could improve upon. This is all a matter of helping the education both of that speaker as well as all of us here as club members, because we all are going to have our own opinions as to the effectiveness of that particular speech. And the third thing that an evaluation does is it helps to continue to build and or maintain the self-esteem of the speaker, because it's effective feedback. You know, sometimes we talk about, when we give an evaluation, we give effective criticism. I always shy away from the word criticism, because we're not criticizing the speaker, we're providing feedback. And the thing to remember that the evaluator is giving their opinion of how well that speaker conveyed their message. It's the evaluator's opinion. Now, those of us who are more experienced in the program, perhaps that opinion is based a bit more on knowledge of technique or knowledge of ways in which to communicate. But at the end of the day, it's the opinion of the evaluator. It's up to the speaker to decide if it's feedback that they can use or not use. It's purely meant as a way of helping to aid the education both of the speaker and then all of us who are here in the room. So Toastmasters says when we give an evaluation, the type of evaluation we give, they have a phrase for it. They call it the tell and sell method of evaluation. And you often hear that we refer to it as the sandwich approach, where we provide positive feedback for things well done. We then provide some information on things that could improve, and then we end on a positive note, other things that were done well. The tell and sell method talk about the manner in which we give the evaluation, where it's the evaluator speaking to the speaker and the audience. So it's the speaker has given their speech. Then when we move to the evaluation piece, the evaluators give their evaluation. So it's not a give and take per se. It's one-way communication. The evaluator is imparting their opinions to the speaker and to the audience. We do that for 2 reasons. One, it provides for an efficient way of providing that evaluation in a 2 to 3 minute time period. So we're not discussing it per se, but we're providing that feedback. And it helps the speaker because the speaker is not preparing a response to the evaluation. So you know, sometimes when you're in a conversation, if you're in a back and forth, someone says something, you're thinking about a response, they continue to say 2 or 3 more points, you maybe didn't hear them because you're thinking about that response. So none of that happens in the evaluation. The speaker gave their speech, we all listen, and now the evaluator gives their feedback on that speech, and we all listen to them. So how do we effectively create an evaluation? Well, Toastmasters has 5 suggested points on what we can do to help create an effective evaluation. The first one actually happens before the meeting. One of the things that they suggest is that the speaker and the evaluator communicate before the meeting so that the evaluator understands what manual and what project the speaker is doing and what are the goals the speaker is attempting to accomplish. Now, excuse me, I know we don't do that here, at least I don't think we do. I know we're all pressed for time. Everyone is very, very busy. But if you think about it, we hand out every meeting a sign-up sheet. And we have 4 to 6 weeks open on our agenda cycle. And because we're such a large club, we always get speakers signed up way in advance. Typically, we also get evaluators signed up in advance, as well as the Toastmaster of the day. In fact, the most important roles that get signed up in advance of a meeting are the speakers, the Toastmaster of the day, and the evaluators. So we could, if we want to, those speakers and those evaluators could look and say, oh, 2 weeks from now, I'm giving a speech and Mariella is going to be my evaluator. So we could communicate. It certainly would help the evaluator understand more the objectives of the speech that speaker will be giving. And it gives them a bit more time to think through how they want to give that evaluation. So I thought that was an excellent suggestion. If, given the time and opportunity, the speaker and the evaluator could, even through email, communicate what's going to be happening that night of that speech. Second thing, the evaluator always wants to show that they're interested in what the speaker has to say. So you want to provide feedback enthusiastically, honestly, and you want to give as much effective feedback as you can. That goes a long way in helping to build the motivation of the speaker and in the club in general. Now we have a lot of new members here. So for those of us who have been around for a while and maybe aren't as nervous to come up here and say in front of the lectern, we've got to remember that we weren't always this confident, that there are times when you're going to get those butterflies in your stomach. So the evaluator plays a critical role in helping to build the confidence level of that speaker by giving effective feedback. It's not just the good things, but it's other things in which they can improve as well. Another thing that they suggest, which I thought was excellent, is that you should personalize the way you give your message. So there are good ways of saying things and less good ways of saying things, even though you may be saying the same thing. So as an example, what TI recommends you stay away from when you give your evaluation is don't use words or phrases like, you didn't, or you should have, or you failed to. Those words sound a little harsh. So that might be the only thing the speaker hears. They're not going to hear what comes next as to what they should have done, or what you think would have been a better approach to a particular topic. So what they suggest is you use more positive phraseology. So things like, I believe, or my reaction was, or I suggest that. Now both phraseologies could convey the same message, but the speaker might not hear the first. They might be more attuned to hear the second because it's done in a positive way. Another thing I found fascinating in this topic, in this material, was they talked about the evaluator's mantra. What is it that we're trying to convey in that 2 to 3 minutes to the speaker? 3 basic things you're telling the speaker. What you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. If you can communicate those 3 aspects of your reaction to that speech, you're giving that speaker a phenomenal amount of feedback. Because what you saw is all the nonverbal communication. It's all the body language. It's all the moving around or the hand gestures. What you heard are the words. How well were they conveyed? How much vocal variety might have been used? Was there pauses perhaps used? Was it good vocabulary that was used? Was there maybe some pronunciation issues that they had? That's all around the hearing part of the speech. And then finally, the most difficult thing for the speaker to interpret, how do they connect with the audience? So as an evaluator, what did you feel when you listened to that speech? A couple of weeks ago, I guess when we were in that little room, Jan Rudder gave a very impassioned speech about someone she knows who's on death row. Obviously a very emotional topic. Obviously it affected many people in the room. Most of our speeches are not as emotional as that. So it's hard sometimes for the speaker to know, am I connecting with the audience? And maybe they're using a technique, or they're trying something new, and they'll be interested to know how effective did that connection occur. Very important aspect of that evaluation. Two other things to think about. When you give the evaluation, you're evaluating the speech, not the speaker. So the content of that particular speech, maybe you don't agree with it. Maybe it's a subject matter that for whatever the reason you have to find fault with. Or maybe it was an analytical speech that the conclusions you felt weren't borne by the information given. Well, that is not necessarily what you want to convey to the speaker. Now, if it was an analytical speech and you felt that the recommendations were not borne by the analysis, yeah, you want to give them that information. But more often than not, you want to evaluate that message, that verbal and nonverbal communication presentation. And then finally, we're here to promote self-esteem. Our job as evaluators is to help motivate the speaker to improve and to help all of us improve. Now, I also have given out a couple of other handouts tonight. Two things to look at when you have a chance. One is a judge's ballot from an international speech contest. The two is a checklist on how effective an evaluator was. If you look through these documents and you read through this material, the Successful Club Series manual, I think we all would go a long way in strengthening the evaluations that we give so that we all can be learning more in Toastmasters. Mr. Toastmaster.